Voting by Machine: One Way to Ensure an Honest Election by Raymond Francis Yates. Popular Science Monthly, November 1920. How much do election frauds cost this country every year? The figure has never been made known. It would probably run well into the millions. Our election laws make fraud easy. There is one case on record where the investigation and correction of fraud required an expenditure of $80,000 and 4 years' time. Who paid the cost? The taxpayers, of course. The ballot method of election ought to be extinct in a mechanical age. We Americans are prone to boast of our mechanical ingenuity and to forget that we have an election system that was old in Caesar's time. The mere existence of the cash register and adding machine ought to make us ashamed of our election system. The voting machine ensures honest elections. The average American feels very important when he goes into the election booth to cast his vote, understanding, as he does, that he is discharging one of his most sacred duties as a citizen. Yet, while an election officer is unfolding the ballots, he may accidentally tear a few. If he is clever, he may have a small piece of lead concealed under one of his fingernails. He can do one of two things with this lead. He can mark a ballot in a way that will render it void, or he can place a cross next to the name of a man who was not voted for. He may decide to punch a hole through the ballot with his pencil point, which would at once invalidate the vote. There are numerous other tricks to deprive an honest voter of his vote. Comparatively few people know that it is possible to sell their votes. How would the politicians know that they had delivered the goods, you say? Most states provide a space for the voter to vote for persons not nominated. It is perfectly legal for the voter to vote for himself. If John Jones sells his vote to one of the parties, the ballot he used in voting can be identified by the name in the space allotted for it. This is simple enough and perfectly legal. The ballot laws actually encourage this practice. In the few states where no such provision is made on the ballots, other methods of identification are in use. Some states provide that the ballots must be folded in a certain way to be legal. When they are folded in this way, the marks show through the paper. The ballot can be rendered invalid by the slightest mark. A cross, a single line, no matter how short, added to the ballot nullifies it. Election officers often take advantage of this fact in eliminating as many votes as possible belonging to the other party. At one time, it was the practice on the east side of New York to throw ballot boxes into the river. Stuffing the ballot box is a merry game. Under the voting laws, each voter is entitled to one vote only. What is going to prevent more than one ballot from being placed in the box under one voter's number? The law? The law does not prevent ballots from mysteriously finding their way into the boxes. This fact is so generally known that laws have been made that state what disposition is to be made of votes cast in this illegal manner. If all the voters were honest, or if all the election officers were honest and watchful, stuffing might be impossible. One of the serious defects of the present voting system is the opportunity it offers for illegal practices. While the opportunity for cheating exists, honest elections will be unpopular with those in charge. The ballot system is costly and grossly inefficient. In the larger cities, the cost of an election runs well into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Each election district must be officered by men who receive from $6 to $12 for their day's work. After the election is over, the votes must be counted by hand, a long, laborious task, pregnant with the danger of mistakes. As long as the counting of votes is done by hand, an unreliable method of election will exist that cannot be more honest or trustworthy than the persons conducting it. Many attempts have been made to perfect a machine or device that will make the mechanical registration of votes possible. While there are certain problems in connection with the perfection of a reliable machine, there is no reason why it could not have been done many years ago. The adding machine had its birth in the 15th century. It paved the way for the voting machine, but several centuries rolled by before the voting machine actually came into being. During the last half-century, many attempts were made to bring voting to a mechanical basis, but few of these held any promise of success. A man in Baltimore invented a machine with which votes were registered by rolling small balls into channels provided for each voter. At the end of an election, it was necessary only to count the balls. When the machine was tested, a few hoodlums put chewing gum in it and wrecked the election. Another man proposed registering votes by having the voter punch holes in paper. This also passed out of existence. Rochester, New York was one of the first cities in this country to try voting machines. That was in 1878. The city is still using them. Not only this, but 65% of the voting in New York State is done by this method. The complete returns of a large city can be made known within 1 hour after the polls close. In the city of Niagara Falls, where the voting machine has been in use a number of years, the returns of the election are made known and the extras printed and on the streets for sale within 45 minutes. In Buffalo, a city of over 500,000 population, the election returns are made public 1 hour after the polls close. This voting machine is strictly a mechanical device. It operates with mathematical accuracy. Before the voter can cast his ballot, he must pull the curtain of the machine about him with a handle provided for the purpose. This ensures a secret ballot. The act also unlocks the machine. When the curtain is opened, the machine is relocked and cannot be manipulated. After the voter pulls the curtain about him, he sees before him a board on which the names of the candidates of the various parties are arranged in rows. The Republican Party occupies one row, the Democratic Party another, etc. Over the name of each voter is a small lever. It is necessary only to throw this lever down to vote for a candidate. If the voter desires to vote a straight ticket, he has only to pull down all the levers in the party row. Levers are also provided to vote yes or no on questions. When the voter has thrown the levers down over his candidates, he pulls the curtain back and steps out. While the curtain conceals the voter, he may make any changes he desires, since the vote is not registered until he pulls the curtain back and departs. It is possible only to cast one vote for each office. For instance, when one candidate for mayor is voted for, the lever over the other candidates for the mayoralty are automatically locked and cannot be operated until the other lever is lifted, in case a change is desired. But can't someone open the back of the machine and change the registered number for any candidate? When the machine is in use, the back doors are locked, and they cannot be opened even with the keys provided for the purpose. On the other hand, when the back of the machine is opened to read the result, the levers on the front are inoperative. There is also a counter on the machine that registers every time the back doors of the machine are opened. A counter also registers every time the curtains are pulled together, thereby keeping a record of the number of votes cast. When the election is over, a seal is placed on the locking device of the curtain, and the seal cannot be removed until the next election without detection. Plot and plan, scheme and engineer as he may, the crooked ward heeler cannot discover a way of cheating the machine. After the election, the machine is placed in a strong packing case and sealed up until the following year. The machine is honest, and its honesty is fully protected from those who would destroy it. Voting mechanically greatly reduces election costs. The number of clerks in each district and the number of election districts are reduced. This is made possible by the rapidity with which the voters are handled. Hence, more voters can be crowded into a district. In the city of Buffalo, the number of election districts was reduced from 150 to 108 after the introduction of the voting machine. This reduced the election costs $14,000 a year, besides eliminating fraud. Expensive recounts and contests are avoided through the use of machines. In the case of a recount, it is necessary merely to remove the machines from their cases and recopy the results. The dictum of the machine is absolutely final. This avoids expensive contests in the courts, where long and costly litigation often results.